What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews, exclusively here as always on the Casa D18 Studios channel. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade JJ Williams, and it's Friday. We're going to wrap up the week of John Wayne Westerns with Chisum, starring John Wayne, Forrest Tucker, Andrew Prine, Christopher George, Ben Johnson, Patrick Knowles, Linda Day, Jeffrey Duell, Glenn Corbett, Bruce Cabot, and Pamela McMyler. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me here once again for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews. As I said in the introduction, it's Friday. We're wrapping up yet another week of John Wayne Westerns, and we're going to discuss Chisum here today. And our movie opens in Lincoln County, New Mexico, when John Chisum, a kindly and successful cattle baron, finds his place threatened when the immoral Lawrence Murphy and his business partner, James Dolan, forcibly buy up most of the land and businesses in the area. Now, initially, Chisum tries not to get involved, although he does allow the ranchers that have been forced out by Murphy to water their herds on his land. Bribed by Murphy, corrupt Sheriff Brady secretly hires Nemo and his group of banditos who kill two of Chisum's men and steal a herd of his horses. Chisum and his men pursue the thieves, retrieve the horses, and discover the American money in the Mexican outlaws' pocket. They are assisted by William H. Bonney, better known as Billy the Kid, a notorious killer who was recently hired and given a chance to reform by John Henry Tunstall, Chisum's philanthropic British neighbor. Chisum's niece, Sally, arrives in Lincoln to live with her uncle, and Billy begins to court her. Alexander McSween has been invited by Murphy to be his lawyer, and he arrives with his wife, Sue, on the same stagecoach that Sally is on. During Sally's welcome party, Murphy sends Jess Evans and his gang to rustle Chisum's beeves, which are being taken to the United States Army in order to feed the Native Americans on a nearby reservation. A wandering Pat Garrett warns Chisum's men of the approaching riders, and during the subsequent shootout, one of Chisum's wranglers dies, and the cows stampede away. Chisum then sends for Justice J.B. Wilson to try Murphy's men for murder, but the damage is done, and the army starts buying its beeves from Murphy. So McSween, not liking Murphy's methods, switches sides. McSween, Tunstall, and Chisum all decide to open a new store and bank in order to combat Murphy's monopoly. Billy, Garrett, and several of Chisum's men go to Santa Fe in order to get supplies to stock the new store. And Billy is nearly killed when Murphy has Evans attack the wagon train as it is returning to Lincoln. So in response, Tunstall decides to go to Santa Fe in order to ask Governor Axtell to intervene in the land wars. Deputies Morton and Baker stop Tunstall on the road, falsely accuse him of rustling, and shoot him dead, and then plant a gun so it looks like Tunstall drew first. Justice Wilson arrives in Lincoln during Tunstall's funeral, but Brady refuses to go after his own men. So Wilson deputizes Chisum and Garrett, and they proceed to track down and capture the fugitive deputies in a nearby town. On the way back, Chisum separates from the group in order to get the judge. Now Billy, wanting revenge for his friend and mentor, and skeptical that justice will be done in Lincoln, knocks out Garrett and kills Morton and Baker. He then rides into town and publicly murders Brady before fleeing. Murphy then convinces Governor Axtell to fire Justice Wilson and appoint bounty hunter Dan Nodine, who hires an old grudge against Billy to be the new sheriff. While a large posse scours the countryside looking for Billy, Billy gathers his allies, starting with two of Tunstall's wranglers, Charlie Baudur and Tom O'Folliard. They break into McSween's store in order to get dynamite to use to rob Murphy's bank, but Nodine notices them inside and a firefight breaks out between Murphy's and Billy's men. McSween, unarmed and wanting no part of the battle, asks that he and his wife be allowed to leave, but only Sue McSween is allowed to go. When the shooting resumes, she flees to get Chisum, so Murphy has his men erect barricades in the streets of town. McSween attempts to come out in order to bargain with Murphy, but Nodine shoots him in cold blood. Chisum and his men arrive in Lincoln driving Murphy's own cattle before them in order to break through the barricades. Murphy's men are defeated with Billy personally pursuing and killing Evans. Chisum gets into a fistfight with Murphy, which ends with both men falling from a balcony. Murphy is impaled on a decorative bull's horn that he was using as a weapon. With his paymaster now dead, Nodine leaves town, pursued by Billy. Garrett and Sally begin a relationship, and Garrett is appointed as the new sheriff of Lincoln County. The new governor of the territory, Lew Wallace, declares amnesty for those involved in the Lincoln County War. With peace restored, Chisum goes up a hill in order to survey his land, and our movie comes to an end. Every so often, when I'm doing these reviews and I'm watching the movies, I'll go to the wiki page ahead of time just to kind of see how big of a synopsis they give me to know if I need to take my own notes or if what is on the website is enough to be translated down, flipped into my own words, whatever, to give to you guys in the description. So that's what I did with this. It's what I've done with all the John Wayne movies, if I'm being honest, because a lot of them are so old, you don't know if you're going to get a paragraph, if you're going to get like 8 paragraphs. So I go to this because I've heard of Chisum, but I knew nothing about it. And I'm setting up the page so that all the paragraphs can be shown to me. And I'm starting to see names like McSween, Murphy, Dolan, Tunstall. And I'm like, these all sound very familiar to me. Then I see Lincoln County. And then I see William Bonney. And I'm like, holy shit, this is a Billy the Kid story. And I didn't realize it at first. And then, of course, I watched the movie and I'm watching it all play out. And I'm seeing Pat Garrett. I'm seeing Charlie Baudur. I'm hearing the mention of Scurlock, Doc Scurlock. Don't really get to see him. He's a background character at best. There's not even anyone credited on the page for having played Scurlock. He's like an extra role. But you're hearing all these names, and I'm like, I know all these names from Young Guns and Young Guns 2, which for me is my definitive telling of the Billy the Kid story, because that's what I grew up on. I've told you guys this before when I reviewed them, which let's go ahead and get that out of the way right now. Here's my link for Young Guns. And I'll talk a little bit, I had seen Young Guns 2 first, fell in love with it because of the soundtrack, the humor involved, Emilio Estevez, you had Christian Slater, you had Lou Diamond Phillips, you had Kiefer Sutherland, all of whom, with the exception of Slater, were in the original one. You had Balthazar Getty, you had Alan Ruck, from Ferris Bueller, Cameron. Let's go ahead and get the link up here for Young Guns 2. And then I went back and I saw the original Young Guns, which was a lot more dramatic, not as comedic. There were still funny elements, but it was a lot more serious tone. And that one dealt a lot more with the Lincoln County War, which is what is discussed a lot in Chisum. Young Guns 2 is kind of the fallouts of the Lincoln County War and what has happened since the war has ended. John Chisum isn't even in the original Young Guns, but he is in Young Guns 2. But I'm watching this and I'm like, dude, this is a Billy the Kid story. It's just not centrally focused on Billy, yet like Young Guns is. It's focused more on the peripheral characters, the actual land owners. Tunstall and Chisum and Murphy and Dolan, and how McSween factors into it all. It's all about them. Billy and Garrett and Charlie, they're all background characters. Whereas in Young Guns, it's the other way around. The focus is on Billy and Garrett and Chavez and Doc and Charlie and Murphy and Tunstall and Dolan and McSween are all background characters. So it was kind of cool to see a story that I was familiar with told from a different side. You always hear the phrase, there's two sides to every story. We always get the Billy side of things. And this was the landowner side of things. And I really enjoyed that. I want to say that out of all the movies I've seen, this is one of the ones I've enjoyed the most because of the fact that it tied into, and I have frame of reference from other stuff that I have seen. I thought this was a great movie. I thought it was paced well. I thought it was a good story. And again, the fact that it had to do with something that I was mildly knowledgeable about just made it even better. For me, when it comes to Chisum, I'm gonna give it 4 out of 5. I almost went 4.5, but I'm like, no, first time seeing it. Let me go back and see the rewatchability factor. Let me see if this is something that I'm willing to watch multiple times like I am a Young Guns or Young Guns 2. And if it is, if over the next, we'll say 3 to 5 years, this is something that I go back and I revisit, I definitely feel like this would move up to 4.5 stars. But first showing right out the gate, 4 stars for Chisum. What do you guys think? Let me know. If you're watching the premiere, leave your thoughts and comments over here. If you're watching on demand later in the day, leave your thoughts and comments down here. Let's have that conversation, that discussion, that debate, that interaction that I'm always asking you guys for in the comments below. And make sure you guys tune in tomorrow, right here to the Casa D18 Studios channel for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews. And it is new release Saturday, so we go back to the multiplex, and this time we're going to be discussing Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, starring Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, Dave Bautista, Karen Gillan, Palm Clementif, Vin Diesel, Bradley Cooper, Will Poulter, Sean Gunn, Linda Cardellini, Nathan Fillion, and Sylvester Stallone. And then later on in the evening, right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, the Jeff Meacham Network, and across the Jeff Meacham Network multiverse of media, it'll be time once again for the Saturday night shenanigans that are open mic night. But oh no, it is not your ordinary open mic night tonight. Oh no, we are presenting our very first open mic game night. Myself, the Hebeman James Hebert, and 2 other of the open mic night regulars will be presiding on one team, and then Big Baller G, Josh Mansfield, Emmanuel and Arlene Dominguez will all be on the other team, and we're going to be playing a good old-fashioned game of Wrestling Family Feud. And then on Sunday, right back here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, it'll be time once again to step into the War Zone. That's right, it'll be time for another edition of the Weekly Acquisition Report, the show where I, the Renegade, show you, the viewers, the latest additions to my ever-growing movie library. And then, at the top of the hour following that, right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, the Jeff Meacham Network, and across the Jeff Meacham Network multiverse of media, we will be presenting our watch-along coverage of New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong Resurgence. Live from the Walter Pyramid in Long Beach, California. Myself and Jeff Meacham were supposed to be going to this. Unfortunately, Jeff got scheduled for work, so neither one of us are going to go. However, we will be providing watch-along coverage of this amazing card live from my old stomping grounds of Long Beach, California. You don't want to miss out on any of that content right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, on the Jeff Meacham Network, across the Jeff Meacham Network multiverse of media. New release Saturday, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Open Mic Game Night, The War Zone, New Japan Pro Wrestling Resurgence, and so much more in store for you guys right here across the channels. So make sure you smash that like button, make sure you're subscribed, make sure that notification bell is turned on so you don't miss out anytime a video drops right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel or anytime we go live. As is the case with Statboy Sports Bar, Open Mic Night, pay-per-view PLE watch-along coverage, etc. Share these videos with your family, friends, loved ones, coworkers, movie fanatics, cinephiles in your life, fans of John Wayne, fans of Billy the Kid, fans of Young Guns, fans of the Lincoln County Wars, or any of those type of historical Wild West events, fans of Pat Garrett, anybody you can think of that would enjoy this content in the video, share it with them. It's the only way we're going to keep my visibility up in YouTube's algorithms now that we are a monetized channel here on the platform. Thank you once again to everybody who tuned in and joined me here today. It means so much more to me than you guys will ever know. And I will see you guys next time.
And now, preview time. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.